Hello, good morning everyone. Good morning Chitralekha. So so finally Baat Jazbaat Tum is with her original name now, Myra Nizami. Good morning Myra. Good morning Soumya. Good morning Alamelu. Okay, so today's topic is legal implications of spreading fake news. This is one of the most contentious topics these days, and one of the most contentious contemporary issues these days, because legal implications of spreading fake news, uh, it's double echoing. Why? Is it still happening? Good morning, Shalvi. Is it still happening? Okay, it's all right. So, legal implications of spreading fake news. Um Introduction. Now, fake news. This is one of the most contentious. I was saying this is one of the most contentious contemporary issues, especially in India, because news or the freedom of press owes its freedom to owes this freedom to Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India in India, and that is considered as the fountainhead of media law, because freedom of speech and expression is not just about one particular citizen. It is also about the freedom of freedom of the press, freedom of the media. The media collectively owes its freedom to this very provision of the constitution. And it's not just that only countries like India have recognized this right at the national levels. In fact, this freedom of speech and expression has been recognized at the international level. Even the Article 19 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights also recognizes this freedom of speech and expression. And even that international right has been widely interpreted so as to include freedom of the media, freedom of the press, freedom of the organizations. Okay, that is the essence of you know freedom of speech and expression. Now, when as a democracy, when you are giving wide freedoms to the press or wide freedoms to the media, there's always, a scope, a room for the fake news. When you are giving this freedom, when you are leaving the media to become an unruly horse, there's always a big and huge scope for spreading fake news. Okay, legal implications of spreading fake news. Introduction. Now, fake news has been around since the development of the printed press, but it has begun a different level of popularity in the age of the rise of modern networks. Manipulation of social media and search engine algorithms to reach big audiences and mislead news consumers is becoming a worldwide trend. And you know what? There are only two industries where people like us are known as consumers. Okay, media does not call its viewers as audiences. It call them as consumers. Okay, So fake news has been, when you are consuming something, when you consume something physically, when you eat something, it affects your body, isn't it? If you're eating very rich, that means it's going to have an effect on your body. If you're drinking alcohol, it's going to have bad effects on your health. If you are smoking, and if you're consuming anything, it depends upon whether it's good or bad, and it's going to have, its side effects accordingly. This is known as consummation. Okay, consumption of anything. Consumers, if you are consuming any news, it's going to have implication on your mental faculty. We have one of the theories in mass communication, and that is known as cultivation theory. Cultivation theory it was devised in 1973, and it's like whatever you are consuming, it's like that, it's going to cultivate, the media, it's going to train your mind in a way what to think about and how to think about. Okay, so cultivation it is going to manipulate your mind, it's going to manipulate and influence your mind, it's going to convince you on a certain agenda. That's what the media does. So fake news is a common practice. If you as a democracy, you are giving this freedom, then it's also going to have some rotten eggs, and the rotten egg of the democratic freedom of speech and expression is the fake news, the scope of fake news. Understood? Have you understood? Fake video clips, news items with modified press identities, bots and hired commentators for great online status, troll farm have all become commonplace. The danger of false news is being used by governments to stifle free speech. However, the governments have time and again tried to stifle and muzzle the voice of freedom, muzzle the voice of the media and free press. Sedition, hate speech, contempt, defamation, incitement to an offense, law and order, public order, security of the state. I mean, these are the kinds of things under the guise of which the governments have time and again tried to muzzle the voices of the press. Okay, but at the same time, running parallel to this is yet another problem, that when every individual in the country has been left free to do anything and to say anything, it's like, and especially after the digitalization, after this boom in the digital revolution, when every single person is holding a smartphone in his hand, it has become very easy for every single person to make a video and float it on the internet, and without authentifying whatever content it has. You can speak any stupid thing in your videos and you can upload it, and you can even get the likes. Okay, so fake video clips, news items with modified press identities, bots and hired commentators for great online status, troll farm have all become commonplace. The danger of false news is being used by governments to stifle free speech. So it's all right, Chitralekha. Okay, Lipsa is good morning. Lipsa is asking how to remember so many case laws. You don't have to memorize them. You just have to read them. You're automatically, the options before you is going to remind them of which case law belongs to which fact. Okay, you simply have to read them carefully. That's it. You don't need to, rote them. Okay. At the world level, Snopes, and in India, social media hoax slayer and alt news are some of the organizations that identify false news. You must have come across this name, this media house, alt news. Have you heard about in organizations like the Logical Indian, alt news? Anyone? Okay. Or what does alt news do? And Logical Indian, what do they do? Myra. Anyone who can tell me what do they do? Exactly, Myra. They combat fake news. They combat fake news. Check the authenticity of news using softwares. Yes, exactly. The Logical Indian alt news, they try to gather informations and the news is spreading on the social media, and they then check the authenticity of that news using softwares. So at the world level, Snopes, and in India, social media hoax Slayer and alt news are some of the organizations that identify false news. The editor of Postcard News India was arrested for propagating lies to incite communal strife. Russia has been accused of using bots and fake news to influence the 2016 US elections. It is a well documented case of cross national internet meddling. That's how, things are going on these days. Russia was trying to influence the 2016 US elections, and it was a well documented case of cross national internet meddling. These are very interesting things to read about. The rise of fake news on WhatsApp, India's most popular messaging application, has been a critical issue. According to a BBC article, WhatsApp became a vehicle for misinformation and propaganda, with both the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party and the main opposition Congress Party accused of disseminating incorrect or misleading material ahead of the 2019 general election. A message began circulating in WhatsApp groups across the country following a suicide attack against the Indian security personnel in Kashmir in 2019. That's how the governments, the different political parties, they try to meddle with the reality, and that's how they try to set the agendas. And it's not just the media, the press, these kinds of things are not just limited to newspapers and the televisions, but now these kinds of messages and these kinds of things are being done through social media platforms. WhatsApp is something that hardly any person is there who is not using WhatsApp, and every single information is falling on the WhatsApp, and everybody is reading them. And in fact, some political party spokespersons have started referring to as WhatsApp University. Whatever you read them, even there are so many religious things which are floating across on various social media platforms, especially WhatsApp, and you come to know about your religion on WhatsApp. You don't bother anymore to read the religious texts and religious books. You try to gain knowledge through internet. Okay, now definition of fake news. In academic areas, fake news has been researched. According to Edson C. Tandok Jr., Zheng Wei Lim, and Richard Ling, academics have researched false news in 6 different ways: news satire, news parody, news fabrication, photo manipulation, advertising and public relations, and propaganda. As can be seen, researchers have evaluated a large number of definitions to determine the shared qualities of this phenomenon, and as a result, we do not have a definition as a final product. Okay, news satire, false news in 6 different ways. It's a news satire, it's a news parody, news fabrication, photo manipulation, advertising, public relations, and propaganda. As can be seen, researchers have evaluated a large number of definitions to determine the shared qualities of this phenomenon, and as a result, we do not have a definition as a final product. Axel Gelford, in his research, discovered that all available definitions of fake news shared 3 distinct traits, which he summarized as follows. First, there is the acknowledgement that the internet, specifically social media, has aided in creating and spreading fake news. First, there is the acknowledgement that the internet, specifically social media, has aided in creating and spreading fake news. Okay. Second, the link between the information of fake news and the rest of the world is questionable at best. Second, the link between the information of fake news and the rest of the world is questionable as at best. Third, the creation and dissemination of fake news are termed deliberately misleading, containing intentionally or knowingly false representations of truth, deliberate distribution of misinformation, and the intention to deceive. In today's environment, the news serves a variety of objects. It can take many forms, including facts, opinions, debates, and even amusement in some circumstances. People have utilized it to better comprehend and shape their views and knowledge about the world around them. However, to distinguish between real and fake news, people believe we must limit true news to its central scientific purpose of providing the public with accurate factual information. As a result, we must comprehend what news is in the context of how it has come to be associated with truth. That's how things are going on. There's a lot of fake news, there's a lot of manipulation, there's a lot of photo manipulations. Whatever photographs, whatever videos you see on the internet, don't believe them on the first sight. Don't believe them to be real on the first sight. You should just wait for some time. Check the organization's website, their Twitter handles like Alt News, The Logical Indian, and try to find out if it has been combated by them. Okay. In today's environment, the news serves a variety of objects. We are inquisitive citizens. We cannot just sit in our rooms and sever our relations with the rest of the world. No, we are inquisitive about what is happening around us. We are inquisitive about what is happening in our country, and we are equally inquisitive about what is happening in our world. And that the news tries to quench our inquisitiveness in that way. Okay. And the news serves a variety of objectives. It can take many forms, including facts, opinions, debates, and even amusement in some circumstances. People have utilized it to better comprehend and shape their views and knowledge about the world around them. However, to distinguish between real and fake news, people believe we must limit true news to its central scientific purpose of providing the public with accurate factual information. And what is the job, what is the sincere, honest job of any media house? It is to educate the people and to provide them exactly the factual information. Perhaps I must say that NDTV still continues with its pure, it continues in, the dissemination of information, and it continues its job in a pure journalism manner. It's a pure journalism. When I see NDTV, I see their anchors are reading the news just the way the anchors used to do on Doordarshan earlier in my childhood days. I used to see Doordarshan, and I used to see how the anchors, they used to read the news. And that was, a pure journalism. NDTV continues with that reading of the news exactly in a manner what Doordarshan used to do. Other channels have started, they have stopped educating people on factual grounds. They've literally stopped talking about the GDP growth. They have stopped talking about the employment crisis in the country. They have also already stopped talking about the various political developments. They just try to run an agenda. They just try to sensationalize the viewers, the consumers, rather than educating them. Okay, rather than making them aware, they're just, without making them aware, without educating them, they're just sensationalizing the issue. That's what the media has started doing. People believe we must limit true news to its central scientific purpose of providing the public with accurate factual information. As a result, we must comprehend what news is in the context of how it has come to be associated with truth. The overall narrative of news is that it is factual, trustworthy, and authentic information conveyed, spread by journalists regarding current happenings in the society. In my attempt to describe fake news, I'll stick to the wide definition of news, which I define as genuine factual information about the world we live in, disseminated by print, broadcast, and social media. It's just a factual information. As a journalist, as a news anchor, you are not supposed to take a side. You may have an opinion. You may have an opinion, and when you are sitting in a consortium or when you are sitting in a panel, you can put across your views freely. You are free to, as a journalist, you are free to be opinionated. But when you are a news anchor, when you are on a channel, and when you are simply supposed to disseminate the information, you do it. Don't try to sensationalize the issue, form an opinion, manipulate the consumers, or influence their minds. That should not happen. Fake, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is an adjective that implies not real, imitation, or counterfeit. As a result, the phrase fake news is an oxymoron. From a layperson's perspective, fake news is news that fails to fulfill the function it was designed to perform. That is news that does not represent the truth. The exploitation of information technology in Indian politics. Political parties are using digital technology and social media networks to distribute false information and erode public trust in the media, government, and academia. It is being done to sway public opinion in their favor. Myra is naming a journalist. Exactly. I mean, that's how you can do. Artificial intelligence, big data analytics, and black box algorithms are being used to undermine truth and trust, which are the foundation of a democratic society, at a time when consumer habits are digitized. Okay. According to a Microsoft poll, India has the worst fake news problem in the world. What happened recently? Some of the news channels, which are openly running an agenda for the ruling political party, they were trying to. You must be remembering that during the CAA-NRC protest, there was a boy who entered the Jamia Millia Islamia premises and started shooting. One of the news channels, they displayed on their channel, and they told that, see, a Jamia student turns violent. He's holding a gun and started shooting. That's how openly the channels are running the agenda. According to the analysis, 64% of Indians surveyed have come across fake news compared to 57% globally. Separate cyber cells and information technology departments have been established by India's major political parties. They build social networking profiles, transmit information, disinformation, misinformation, material to their supporters in a very organized manner. Various political parties are creating tens of thousands of pages on Facebook and Twitter, and tens of thousands of WhatsApp groups, all with millions of users and members, to influence voters and the public at large. Low-cost internet data has increasingly aided in the growth of online media websites, YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and WhatsApp groups. Exactly, Chitralekha. The news channel you have named is something which is very dangerous. Very dangerous in the sense, because it's not about dangerous because it promotes and propagates in the name of a particular religion, because it is defaming that religion, it is promoting, encouraging communal hatred, and it is spreading the venom in the entire country. That's how dangerous it has become. Okay. A big percentage of Indians are uninformed of the fake news factory method that includes the use of this vast number to advance their agenda. This massive online system encourages trolls to To create a man-dominated digital area where harassing women on social networking sites is easy. Fake news and internet harassments have targeted well-known journalists, activists, and politicians. And you must have come across, how many of you use Twitter? Like most of you must be using it. Must be using Twitter. Okay. Most of you must be using Twitter, isn't it? Exactly, Ananya. News used to be very simple, very decent, and if you remember Nalini Singh, she used to read the news on Doordarshan, and she was a pure. She is still a pure journalist. You know, journalists, when they are trying to sing along the tunes of the government, this becomes dangerous. The press is not free then. Okay, now I was asking, how many of you use Twitter? None of you? Okay, Alamelu, he does not use Twitter. Like if you're using Twitter, and if you're following journalists, activists, and politicians, okay, no, none of you. Okay. I've understood. You people are away from the Twitter politics. Journalists, activists, and politicians, because I see every day. Activists and actors like Swara Bhaskar, they are trolled very badly. And I'm surprised every time. You may have political differences. Everybody is free to have his own ideology. You may have political differentiations. You may have political conflicts and even political disputes. But the way women activists are trolled on Twitter is very embarrassing. And this is something which needs to be combated as soon as possible and as fast as possible. Fake news role in the propagation of violence. Millions of fraudulent viral messages and photoshopped images impact crores of individuals every day on one or more issues, either promoting one party or criticizing another. It has broken the nation's social structure apart and painted a depressing picture of the democratic institution. Investigations into several incidences of mob lynching and violence against tribals, Dalits, minorities, and other marginalized groups have revealed that misleading news is propagated primarily by using WhatsApp groups. Many people have been attacked or harmed as a result of the hatred that these organized factories of creating misleading messages have instilled in the weaker sections of society. The vast majority of Indians use WhatsApp, Facebook, and other social media platforms, yet these platforms may become antisocial when rumor opportunists spread false information. Do you remember the Bengaluru violence that took place during the CNRC in 2019? Do you remember the Bengaluru violence that took place in 2019, the riots in the Bengaluru, the riots that followed the Delhi riots in 2019? You must not be remembering them. But a fake Facebook post started all this in Bengaluru. Literally nobody physically started it. It was started virtually. Then people came, they reacted, and that's how it happened in Bengaluru. Okay. In May and June 2018, at least 22 people were murdered by mobs in various parts of the country on allegations of being child lifters or involved in cow slaughter, with the police blaming fake news for the lynchings. Along with an assessment by Indian Express, which interviewed senior police officials, which found that the numerous WhatsApp viral messages led to the death of 27 persons in 15 incidences of lynchings by uncontrollable crowds, misled by viral reports of child kidnappers throughout 9 states from Assam to Tamil Nadu between mid-2017 and July 2018. Okay. Postcard news, the notorious fake news factory, regularly post with freedom. Nonetheless, in 2017, Alt News, a misinformation busting website, documented multiple cases of fake news on this official site. It was never prosecuted for fabricating news and disseminating false information. Dainik Jagran, a renowned Hindi daily, released false news on its website, claiming that the victim girl had not been raped, even though Jagran had been revealed by various fake news buster websites, including The Wire and the News Click. Okay, that's how, News Click, The Wire, they have become fake news buster websites. One thing more, yesterday, Ramdas Chavanke, who is a journalist in the Sudarshan TV, he tweeted a report, because right now there are some clashes going on in the state of Rajasthan. You must be knowing this. And there is a curfew since the day of Eid. There is a curfew in Jodhpur. Okay? You must be knowing this. In the state of Rajasthan. Yesterday only, or the day before yesterday, Ramdas Chavanke, who is a journalist in the Sudarshan TV, he tweeted a report. And that report was from a newspaper having a picture where a roadside vendor was shown grabbing the neck of the police officer, police constable, who had come to harass him in some way or the other. Okay. And this was posted. That's how a Muslim vendor was grabbing a police constable's neck in an open daylight on the streets of Jodhpur. The news was found to be, some 5-7 years old news, which was tweeted by him, and it was shown to be belonging to the present clashes in the state of Rajasthan. And also, it had a religious color. The vendor was shown to be hailing from one minority, and that's how it was said. Some other journalist, I remember, I was scrolling the Twitter yesterday. One other journalist, she retweeted her tweet with a caption that the police and the cyber police should take note of this. He must be arrested for spreading fake news. A school bus, that's how it goes. Now, a school bus was attacked in Gurgaon during the Padmavat movie protest in 2017, when the Karni Sena came out on the streets claiming that the Hindu princess Padmavati's narrative was altered in the film. Eventually, a message made headlines revealing the involvement of 5 Muslims. Since 2015, lynching has been a big issue in India. It rose to prominence after a Muslim villager from Uttar Pradesh named Akhlaq was killed by a mob when reports spread that he was hiding beef in his freezer. The allegation was broadcast over a loudspeaker from a nearby temple in this case. Crime and the killings of past months had a common thread linked to rising nationalist sentiment in the country, said Muhammad Ali, an Indian journalist. According to a Reuters article, 63 cow vigilante incidents happened in India between 2010 and 2017. It also happened throughout that time, mainly since the India administration took power in 2014. There were 28 Indians killed and 124 injured in these attacks. 24 of the 28 people killed were Muslims. The majority of these occurrences are directly influenced by internet false news messaging and indirectly by the animosity engendered by these communications. Okay. India's legal position on fake news. Now, what are the legal positions? In India, there is no explicit legislation dealing with false information. The right to freedom of speech and expression guaranteed by Article 19(1)(a) is the fundamental law that encourages the free publication or broadcasting of news. However, it is important to recall that the freedom granted by Article 19(1)(a) is not absolute and is subject to reasonable limitations imposed by Article 19(2). There is no doubt about it that there are 8 reasonable restrictions under Clause 2 of Article 19. There is no doubt about it. But these reasonable restrictions are not just for fake news. They are for the real news. A real news may be combated, a real news may be suppressed or curbed if it hampers the public order, if it violates the security of the state, if it is against the basic standards of decency and morality, if it is leading to defamation, if it is leading to contempt of court, if it is inciting an offense, if it is rising communal hatred, and so on and so forth. You know, the freedom comes with a set of restrictions, but these restrictions are for the real news as well. We do not have a separate provision, we do not have a separate law for curbing fake news and punishing the perpetrators. Okay? If you believe you have been the victim of fake news, you can submit a complaint with the following organizations. The NBA is an organization that represents private television news and current affairs broadcaster. Okay? National Broadcast Agency is an organization that represents private television news and current affairs broadcasters. Okay, then Broadcasting Content Complaint Council is a body that investigates complaints about broadcasting content, BCCC. The Broadcasting Content Complaint Council can be contacted if you have a complaint about unpleasant television programming or fake news. Okay. The Indian Broadcast Foundation is a non-profit organization dedicated to broadcasting in India, IBF. The Information and Broadcasting Ministry overturned its previous rule on fake news in April 2018. If any journalist was found guilty of disseminating fake news, then his accreditation could be cancelled, according to the directive. The government then stated, we have so many bodies. What do we have? We have NBA, National Broadcasting Agency. We have Broadcasting Content Complaint Council, BCCC. Then we have the Indian Broadcast Foundation, IBF. Then we have the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. Isn't it? We have so many things. The government then stated that issues with false news should be handled by the Press Council of India, which is also an existing regulating agency. It's worth noting that the Press Council under Section 14 of the Press Council Act of 1978 has the authority to warn, admonish or censure the newspaper, the news agency, the editor or the journalist, or disapprove the conduct of the editor or the journalist if it finds that a newspaper or a news agency has offended against the standards of journalistic ethics or public taste, or that an editor or a working journalist has committed any professional misconduct. Okay. So what do we have? What is the legal framework in India to deal with the fake news? Can you please repeat? Can anyone please repeat? Can you please tell? What is the legal framework to deal with the fake news in India? Yes, exactly, Myra. We have National Broadcasting Agency, NBA. We have BCCC, Broadcasting Content Complaints Council. Then we have IBF, Indian Broadcasting Foundation. Indian Broadcast Foundation. Then we have Information and Broadcasting Ministry, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India. Okay, we can write directly. If you have any problem with the content, if any news has found to be fake, you can directly write to any of these agencies. Okay? Then you can also directly write to the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India. And it has already declared, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has already declared, while overturning its previous rule on the fake news in April 2018, that If any journalist was found guilty of disseminating fake news, then his accreditation could be cancelled according to the directive. The government then stated that issues with false news should be handled by the Press Council of India, which is also an existing regulating agency. It's worth noting that the Press Council, under Section 14 of the Press Council Act of 1978, Press Council Act, there is a Press Council Act of 1978, Section 14 of which gives the authority to the Press Council to warn, admonish, or censure the newspaper, the news agency, the editor, or the journalist, or disapprove the conduct of the editor or the journalist if it finds that a newspaper or a news agency has offended against the standards of journalistic ethics or public taste, or that an editor or a working journalist has committed any professional misconduct. Okay, understood? Then under Section 79 of the Information Technology Act 2000, the administration is attempting to give agencies more flexibility. Okay, now what are the legal frame? We are exploring the legal framework for combating fake news in India. Under Section 79 of the IT Act 2000, exemption from intermediary liability in certain instances, the administration is attempting to give agencies more flexibility. The First Amendment will make it mandatory for online media to use technologies that can detect illegal content. On the other hand, the Second Amendment is more concerning because it entails breaking end-to-end encryption to track the origin of messages. The main issue is that if encryption is breached, authorities may be able to trespass on people's privacy by using legitimate messages and emails. Okay? Then comes several sections of the Indian Penal Code, including sections 153, 153A, 295 and 295A, can be used to combat fake news. Can be used to combat fake news. Recently, already you must be knowing this. One of the journalists who holds a prime time on a mainstream Hindi news channel, he has been booked for hate speech and spreading fake news, and he fled away when the Rajasthan police went to arrest him. You must be knowing about him. We have so many provisions, and he has been booked under these provisions for spreading fake news and encouraging communal strife in the country. In the case of misleading news, you don't remember. I'm asking you, you don't remember. You don't know this? In the case of misleading news, okay, it's all right. An alternative legal option is to file a defamation complaint. Now, if some news channel, if some news anchor, if any journalist is trying to defame the other person, then there is one option also to file a defamation complaint. If a person believes fake news is defamatory, he or she can initiate a civil or criminal defamation case. As a result, we can observe that there is no specific provision dealing with all sorts of fake news under the IPC. Okay. Now there is an analysis of the Anuja Kapoor case. Given the frequency with which the coronavirus is spreading over the world, false information is spreading at the same time. During the lockdown, a huge percentage of the human population is trapped inside their homes, where the infodemic is spreading rapidly. To counteract this, over 400 researchers have debated their efforts to expose false information regarding the virus. Apart from validating and disseminating data, the group also dissects all available data and assists both national and local governments in evidence-based action. Okay. To counteract this, over 400 researchers have debated their efforts to expose false information regarding the virus. Apart from validating and disseminating data, the group also dissects all available data and assists both national and local governments in evidence-based action. Okay. Yes, Myra Nizami, you've got it right. Even news outlets and the press have a greater responsibility to raise awareness and boost education about the dangers of fake news and falsity. Moreover, Anuja Kapoor has registered a lawsuit in the Supreme Court, which is now pending and is seeking guidance from the center on how to set guidelines and establish a legal framework for combating fake news and prosecuting those responsible for making and circulating it. The petitioner stated that the unending spread of fake news on the internet causes unfathomable atrocities and infringes on citizens' right to unbiased and truthful news and reports. Okay. Conclusion. In terms of education, India, like Italy, should emphasize cybersecurity, internet literacy, and false news instruction across the board. We do not have literacy. Even fake news cannot affect us if we are literate and educated enough and wise enough to understand that this must be fake. We are so credulous. Indians are so credulous in believing in everything at the first sight, and they start sharing it further. That is the biggest problem with Indians. What do they do when they are receiving a stupid video which any wise man can decipher that this must be fake at any cost, but they don't believe it to be fake? They're so credulous in believing it to be so true and authentic that they start sharing it further. And this is because of the lack of internet literacy. They believe that whatever is shown on the internet is absolutely true and authentic. So we need to educate them. We need to increase the internet literacy rate. We need to tell people that internet is a virtual world, which is not real, and most of the things seen are absolutely fake and false news instruction across the board. Individuals should be alert and mindful enough to tell if the news is genuine or not. If a message elicits strong emotions or makes absurd statements, it should be validated before being posted on social media. Any future legislation to combat false news should consider the entire picture rather than blaming the media, as anyone can make and distribute news for personal gain in this age of new media. Highlighting the intended course of action and fake news to re-establish trust in web-based living without compromising web and media opportunities would necessitate state-funded learning, the reinforcement of guidelines, and the effort of tech companies to develop appropriate news curation algorithms. As a result, managing fake news is a complex issue. If it isn't regulated, it can lead to national and international destabilization. But if it is regulated too much, it can weaken the democratic system. So we need a balance. Okay. So if you have anything to add or anything to ask, you're most welcome to do that. Myra is asking me what is a good score in CLAT. Perhaps, Myra, I'm not the right person to ask this question. I may give an answer, but I'm not absolutely confident about the figures and scores. I'm really bad at it. So I guess you must have resort to some other person in this regard. Yes, Ananya, you have got it right. You can read him. You can read about him on the internet. It's full of news. Any question? Ananya is asking me, can you please provide some important case laws related to evidence law? There are important case laws related to evidence law, but I must not provide them unless I know how your syllabus has been covered by the concerned teacher. And also there are various case laws which are already covered in the syllabi. So I don't have any idea about because I'm not taking that subject now. That's why. Whosoever has been taking your subject must include those case laws within the syllabi. Okay, then no questions. Then I'm signing off, and let's meet tomorrow with another topic. Okay? Till then, bye bye and all the very best. Thank you. Ananya is asking, sir, actually evidence law is not in syllabus, but it is a part of both civil and criminal. So let me talk to the talk to my boss, and then I can tell you. Okay, Ananya, let me talk. Let me consult this. Only then I can do something. Okay, Alamelu. Okay. That's fine. Okay, thank you, Ananya. Thank you, everyone. Then I'm signing off, and let's meet tomorrow with another topic. All the very best. Bye bye.